Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Conquering Hill podcast and morning talk show. I'm your host, Nicholas Gagnier, and I'm here to slice it and dice it just for you. And want to share with you what's crack-a-lacking today here on January 19th. Beautiful Friday, anywhere you are. So today, I would love to welcome you to the show because I want to discuss my favorite all-time inspirational movie. Now, we all have certain movies that we love to watch. Certain movies touch us a little bit more, and we resonate with those uh, characters and scripts a little bit more than others. But there's one movie, well, many movies that really have resonated with me throughout my life. And I'm sure you've heard of Rocky, right? There's six Rockies, and then there's also the Creed kind of spin off. But I would like to focus on the actual character and why it was written. Um, Rocky was the idea of that movie came from Sylvester Stallone going to Muhammad Ali boxing match in 1975, and he went to go see the movie, and he fought a man. Muhammad Ali fought a man called Chuck Wepner. You've probably never heard of him. I mean, if you've ever followed boxing, or at least if you have any idea of boxers and historic boxers and all-time greats, you never hear of Chuck Wepner, right? So Chuck Wepner went the distance versus Muhammad Ali in 1975. Yes, Muhammad Ali was probably towards the end of his career. However, this no-name white hope boxer made it all the way through the battle with Muhammad Ali. He went the distance. So when you watch that, that kind of sparked the idea of writing a film or a script based off of a boxer going a distance with the champ. So a little bit backstory with that. Sylvester Stallone was an actor trying to act, get a gig, and he went to an audition, got denied. But then he brought up how he does a little bit of writing, and he wanted to show him this script. He said, "All right, come back and bring the script with you." So he brought the script with him, and they loved it. And they offered him, I don't know if it was like around $50,000. At that time, with a lot of money, more money than he's ever known. And he was broke. He was so broke, Stallone ended up selling his dog Buttkiss. I'm not sure if you ever remember Buttkiss from the Rocky films, but he sold that dog just to survive because he couldn't feed him. So eventually, Rocky or Sylvester Stallone, he wanted to act in this his own film. He refused to sell the film, the rights of the film, to these people, to this company, because he wanted to act, and he stood firm. And they offered him more money. He said no. Came back again 6 months later, offered him more money. He said no. And eventually, they allowed him to act in his own movie, and they gave him a low budget. And look what it has become. He ended up finding his dog and bought his dog back. And then you see Buckus in a couple of those movies, right? So Rocky is really a microcosm of life, because I'm not sure if you've ever seen it or not, but pretty much 1 through 6, there are very inspirational moments throughout it. In Rocky 1, he's training. He's training. He gets this once in a lifetime shot to fight the champion of the world, Apollo Creed. And during the fight, he gets whipped. He gets knocked down again and again, beaten up. Face is all busted, bleeding, can barely even see. And he keeps getting back up. And Apollo Creed didn't really take the fight seriously. Rocky knocked him down in round maybe 2 or 3 in the beginning of the fight. And all of a sudden, he realized, oh man, this guy's for real. This guy, he just keeps coming back. I keep pounding away at Rocky. He keeps coming back. And towards the end of the fight, the last round, Apollo knocks him down again. And he thinks he has the championship retained. He thinks it's over. But what happens? Right before that 10 count, Rocky Balboa gets back up. And they pan to Apollo's face, and he looks in disbelief, and he can't believe it. And he's like the soul was sucked out of him because he was trying his hardest to put away this boxer. But what happened? Rocky got back up. So in life, what happens? We're always getting knocked down. We will be knocked down consistently through our life. Have you ever lost a job? Have you ever lost a loved one? Have has have you been divorced before? Have you struggled and life kicked you down? Life beat you down. We all have to get back up in life because life will knock us down. It's inevitable. It's part of the process. The famous quote in one of his films is that life isn't about how many times you can get hit. Life is about how many times you can get hit and keep moving forward and keep fighting, because that's how winning is done. And throughout the series of these Rocky films, he's dealt with loss. He loses his trainer that didn't want him to fight because he didn't think he could win. He didn't think he could beat Clubber Lang, Mr. T. Who remembers Mr. T? That guy was a badass, right? And Rocky was afraid because he knew he couldn't beat him. So he goes through training, trying to battle his demons of being afraid, fighting with, all of a sudden Apollo Creed is now his trainer. Apollo Creed had been retired. He's training Rocky because his trainer, Mickey, has died. So he's dealing with loss. So he's coming back for the rematch after losing to Clubber Lang earlier in the movie, and he comes back ready to rumble. And he comes back more determined than ever. But he faced his fears. While he was training with Apollo, and he was still battling what was going on through his head, fighting the memories of loss and losing the title and realizing that maybe he wasn't the best anymore. And he told Apollo, we'll get back at it tomorrow. And Apollo loses his mind, saying, there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. And that is so true. Because if you take a look at your life, you take a step back, there is no tomorrow. There is only now, because we don't have tomorrow guaranteed. There are no guarantees for tomorrow. We do not know what tomorrow is going to bring. In the words of Les Brown, we are here today, we are gone today. Blink of an eye, snap of the finger. Throughout the series of these movies, he deals with loss. In Rocky IV, he deals with some more loss. Apollo Creed tried to come back and fight again because that's who he is. That's what he wants to do. And in Rocky IV, if you remember, he loses to the Russian. He dies in the ring to Ivan Drago. The famous line, if he dies, he dies. And Rocky feels compelled to fight for his brother. And Adrian, Adrian doesn't want him to do it. She thinks, and she tells him that you can't win. And what does Rocky say? He says, maybe I can't, but I'll give him everything I got. And that's all that matters. So he understood that he might not win when he entered that ring. He understood his life was on the line. He watched one of his closest friends die in the ring in his arms. That's how dangerous boxing is. That's how dangerous life can be. Nothing is guaranteed. So he flies out to Russia, at that time, the Soviet Union. He flies out to the Soviet Union to train, and that Rocky Four, as far as being inspiration, that was my favorite because there's a lot of training, a little training montage. Him and Ivan Drago freaking getting after it when Ivan Drago was training inside this high tech facility, and then Rocky's training outside, climbing mountains, rolling boulders, chopping wood, you know, just incredible. And that that movie, I mean, that soundtrack, you ever put on the Rocky for a soundtrack, or even any of them, you hear the song, dun, 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 dun. Everyone understands that song. What is that song, Rocky? Lifts you up. How about Eye of the Tiger? Pumps you up. So that Rocky Four soundtrack was very inspirational as well. And when he gets in the ring with Ivan Drago, again, he gets obliterated. He gets beaten down, but he keeps getting back up. And that is the epitome of what Rocky is. Get back up. You got to get back up. You might die in the ring trying. Doesn't matter if you lose or win the fight. Rocky won. He didn't care about winning. He just wanted to go the distance with the champ to prove to himself that he could do it. He wasn't a loser in life. He wanted to go the distance to prove to himself that he was a winner, that he would get back up against all odds. No one gave him a chance. Who was this guy? No one knew who this guy was. Life doesn't give you a chance sometimes. Life doesn't care who the hell you are, where you come from. It'll beat you down. You might be born with a silver spoon. You might be born into struggles in a horrible family, a broken family. You might be born in different parts of the country, different parts of the world that, some are more affluent than others. You might think you have a better shot at success because you're born into a better household, and maybe some of that is true. People that are raised in a household where the nuclear family is intact, the mother and father are always home. Yeah, those children have a better chance at success. It doesn't matter. People that have no father growing up, no mother growing up, foster parents, people still succeed. People can still succeed. They don't use that as some excuse, because there are no excuses. There are only solutions. You have to look for those. Anyone can make an excuse. You ever hear that? You ever know someone who all they do is make excuses for what they do, what's wrong? And stop to think, dude, who cares? What are you going to do about it? I don't want to hear excuses. I want to hear solutions. Those are the people that are successful and unstoppable and obsessed at being great. They'll turn that excuse into a solution before you can finish a sentence. And in Rocky 4, when he's having the boxing match, they're fighting the boxing match in the Soviet Union. In the beginning of the movie, the fans, the whole arena, the Russians are cheering for their countryman Ivan Drago. But throughout the course of the fight, and they watch Rocky start to fight back, start to win a couple rounds, hold his own, showing the determination of never giving up, taking the hits, getting back up, taking more hits, getting knocked down, feeling the pain, but getting back up. The crowd starts to turn and starts to cheer for Rocky Balboa. When Rocky Balboa finally knocks out Ivan Drago in the last round and he gives his speech, he talks about people changing. He talks about how throughout the fight, he notices how people started to change. And he says, if you can change and I can change, then everybody can change. And it's so true. Because throughout life, we have to change. We're forced to change. We can't stay the same. Sometimes, I wonder, I wish back, man, I remember those days when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, playing baseball, playing basketball, or no worries in the world. Think back to high school playing sports, no worries in the world. Can't go back to those days. Have to change. Can't go back to the good old times. You have to change. And throughout that process, I was knocked down throughout life, just like you have been. And don't lie to yourself telling you haven't been knocked down, because you have. And you've gotten back up. Again and again and again. And that's something to be proud about. In Rocky 5, when Rocky's training a young and up-and-coming boxer, because Rocky can't box anymore because the doctor tells him you've got some severe brain damage. So he trains some local kid, living vicariously through him. Tommy Morrison, Tommy Gunn. And throughout that movie, he has a lot of flashbacks to his trainer and friend, Mickey. And when all of a sudden, Tommy becomes about to become the champ. He's got his title shot. He turns. He's offered a better deal from basically the character playing the Don King role. Makes Tommy turn on Rocky, and he wins the fight. Tommy's a champ, but Rocky's at home watching the fight. And when he gets out of the fight, when Tommy wins, he's at a press conference, and everyone's comparing him to Rocky Balboa and basically telling him he's not a champ. Rocky Balboa was a true champ, a people's champ. The man fought wars in the ring, like we fight wars in life. Throughout life, every day is a battle. Battle up here. Every single day is a battle up here. Because you know what's right and wrong. Any day can go off the rails. You can give up any day. You can start hitting the bottle early. You can start doing drugs at any time. You can quit on a day, quit on anything. Every single day you have the opportunity to quit. But you don't. Keep moving forward. So when Tommy shows up at the bar looking for Rocky, because he wants to propose a fight to Rocky. He wants to prove to the world that he's a champ and he can beat him. And he says, no. And everyone remembers Paulie. Paulie. Paulie tells him to get the hell out of here. He's just a bum. And what happens is Tommy Gunn punches out Paulie with one punch, knocks him out, knocks his teeth out. And that sets Rocky off. And he wants Rocky to get in the ring with him, and Rocky says, my ring's outside. So they go outside, they battle, they fight. Rocky knocks his ass out, and I would say like the round one of that little fight, and then Tommy gets back up. It's a street fight. He beats the hell out of Rocky in that second round. And all of a sudden, Rocky's holding his head. And he gets a flashback from Mickey. And he says, don't lay down like this. Fight this guy hard. Get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you. Then all of a sudden, Rocky starts getting up. The music starts. Dun, 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 dun. And he gets up. He calls Tommy over for one more round. And he knocks out Tommy Gunn. One more round. Just because you're getting knocked down, just because life doesn't care about your feelings. Just because life is difficult, it can be ruthless. You can get back up for one more round. You can get back up to fight for another round. I grew up watching Rocky as a kid, mostly probably because it was always on, TNT or TBS. When, cable might only have like 40, 50 channels, what the hell it was at that time. It was always on every weekend. They must have had some kind of contract, right? But that was always on. I gravitated towards that movie. I gravitated towards the idea of never giving up, of fighting, of battling. Rocky Balboa fought against all the odds. He was just some bum on the street before he got his shot. Some random shot, almost like a lottery. He was chosen to fight Apollo Creed. He was just some bum boxer working for a bookie to collect money on the docks of Philadelphia. All of a sudden, he had his shot. And when he first got his shot versus Apollo Creed, all he wanted to do was just go the distance for himself because he didn't want to be a loser anymore. He made that decision. And what happens? He goes a distance. And he actually, if you watch the fight, you would think he won the fight, but he didn't win the fight. They gave the fight to Apollo Creed. They called the fight for Apollo. And he didn't want a rematch. Remember, I don't want a rematch. I don't want a rematch. Adrian! She's running through the crowd. The beautiful movie. Won a few Oscars. Some of the best screenplay. I don't think he won the best movie that year. He didn't win the best actor that year. But it's one of the most inspirational movies of all time. And there are others that maybe you enjoy, that you resonate with a bit more. But if there's anything in life that Rocky has taught me, is to never give up. Keep getting up. You're going to get knocked down. Throughout my life, I'd always put on some of the Rocky soundtrack to get pumped up and exercise. I mean, we've all done it. If you ever exercise, you put on some Rocky music. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep fighting for what you love. Because he was a good person throughout the movie. He always tried to do the right thing by everyone throughout the movie. And life hit him. Life hit him hard and knocked him down. And he got back up. Think about that time when life knocked you down, but you got back up. Think about that time when you wouldn't allow life to keep you down and beating you down because you chose to get back up to fight again, to fight another round. How many rounds do we have left? I would say, how many sunsets and sunrises do we have left? How many rounds do we have left to fight? We don't know. But life is going to knock us down again. I can guarantee you that. Life is going to knock you down again. I can guarantee you that. So what are you going to call on? Throughout the fights, Rocky calls on Adrian. Throughout the fight, Rocky calls on Mickey. He never gave up. He kept fighting. And that will show you who you are. When you get back up and you go through that adversity, and you show that determination to never give up, to keep fighting, to fight that next round, no matter the odds, no matter how much pain you are in. The scene in the movie. You can't. I guess my right eye, Mick. Cut me, Mick. I don't want to do it. Cut me. cuts his eye so he could see again. The Rocky 4, he tells his trainer, "Yeah, I see 3 of them out there. Hit the one in the middle." He keeps moving forward. He didn't care. He didn't care what's happening to his body because he had to fight for his brother, for his friend, Apollo Creed. It was bigger than him. And sometimes in life, you have to fight for things that are bigger than yourself. You have to keep moving forward for what you want, for what you're passionate about. No matter what happens. No matter how many doors get closed in front of your face. No matter how many times you get rejected. How many times you fail. No matter how many times people say you are not good enough. You're not creative enough. You don't have the talent and skills to succeed. You can fold. You can give up. Get knocked down, stay on the ground. You get back up again. Fight another round. So to me, Rocky, the character and the idea of all those films is the microcosm for life for me. Never giving up, always fighting, always moving forward, going against all the odds, trying to go the distance. I just want to go the distance to prove to myself. It's a battle between himself when he was in that ring versus Apollo Creed. He didn't care about winning the championship, about becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. It's about himself. So I truly appreciate you hanging out with me today. Hopefully, I've given you a little bit of inspiration, some motivation, and a bit of entertainment for your Friday, January 19th, where I come to you live here on my personal Facebook page and YouTube, streaming Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. And you can find the recording on Spotify and YouTube later on today. Hopefully I get to see you next week. And I want you to have a great weekend. And remember, never give up.